Good morning and welcome to the Supervisory Skills and Management Development Information Session. Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to share with you about our great programs in the leadership area of Extension. And we hope that this session provides you with enough information to make a decision to join one of our programs. So with that, let's get started. My name is Jennifer Keller. I'm on the top right there. I'm the Management and Leadership Associate Director with UC Davis Extension. And I'm joined with my associate, Bridget Saragosa, our program coordinator.
Hello, everyone.
Bridget will be answering your questions along the way, and you can ask questions through the Q&A box. So if you want to open that, she'll be answering your questions, and she will be able to follow up with you after the program as well. I'm also pleased to have with us Dawn Carner, and she'll introduce herself later when we turn over to her. She's going to be a guest speaker today and actually giving you a preview of some of the content that she teaches in her coaching class in supervisory skills. So you'll hear from her in a little bit, and we're excited to have her join us as well. So here's our agenda for today. We already did the welcome, so we can check that off the list. First, we're going to talk about our supervisory skills program, and as I mentioned, we're going to feature the coaching employees class with Dawn Carner, and she'll give you a little preview of the awesome content in that class. Then we'll have time to talk about our management development program, which features the DISC assessment, so I'll talk to you a little bit about what that entails. And then we'll give you a preview of a specialized skills class, which is also taught by Dawn, so she'll talk a little bit about that class. And then, of course, we have time for questions. As I mentioned, we'll be asking the questions along the way through the Q&A box. So Bridget will be monitoring that throughout the session. So if you have a question, please open your Q&A box now and have that ready. All right, we also have some exciting news that you can earn a $100 coupon by being here. Not really earning it, you've already earned it by being here. So as a thank you for attending this information session, you will receive a discount code for $100 off either of the programs. Stay with us at the end to find out how to get that discount. All right, we're gonna get to our first polling question. So how many years of supervision or management experience do you have? Bridget's going to launch that poll for you. Go ahead and answer for us, and then we're going to show you the results. To give it another 30 seconds here. You see there's still a few of you that haven't voted, so we're going to wait. So far, the results are kind of all over the place. We've got 4 more people to vote. Give it 5 more seconds, get your votes in, and then we're going to end and show you the results. All right, so we're pretty split across the board here. As you can see, a slight winner of 1 to 3 years of experience. We have quite a few of you that are looking to move into supervision, and then a lot of you with a lot of experience as well. So thank you for taking that time. That helps us kind of see where everybody's at, and as you listen in, hopefully that will help you determine what type of program or class is going to be a fit for you as well. So the programs that we're going to talk about, as I mentioned, are supervisory skills. This is series 2 that we're going to talk about, which is offered in the spring starting April 5th, so just about a month from now. And it is a series of 5 consecutive weeks. And those can be taken separately or as a program. I'll talk a little bit more of that in a minute. And you can see we have 2 sections now. We're really excited about this. This program has grown so much that we're able to offer choices now of a morning option or an afternoon option. So whatever works best for your schedule and your meeting. So they're the same classes, just offered twice on the same day. And then we're going to spend some time talking about the Management Development Program, which is offered in May, and it's 3 consecutive weeks, and we'll get into the details of that as well and how that program works. So those are the 2 programs we're going to talk about today, and then as I mentioned, we'll do a quick preview of our specialized skills. So let's dig into supervisory skills. So as I mentioned, this series can be taken as a whole program, so you can register for all 5 classes, or if you look after we talk through each of these classes, if there's an individual class that looks appealing to you or a specific topic, maybe you're just interested in coaching or just interested in the generations, you can register for that as an individual class. So this series really provides you with options. And we're also excited to have a new class in this series called Solutions Focused Thinking, and I'll be providing you details on that class in just a minute when we walk through all of the classes. So the series begins on April 5th. It's 5 consecutive weeks. As I mentioned, you can take it in the morning or the afternoon. So the first class in the series is Juggling Multiple Priorities with Lisa Montanaro. And this has been a class we've offered over the past few years in the Supervisory Skills series, and Lisa is just really one of our phenomenal instructors. She's a keynote speaker, workshop presenter, published author. She has her own method around multiple priorities and time management called the DECIDE method. And so she walks through that. She has a self-assessment. She's a really engaging instructor, and we get consistent high feedback on Lisa. So it's exciting to be able to start off the series with this class, and she kind of has just a different take on time management. It's not your typical time management class. So that kicks off the series. And then we get into Diane Davidson, and she does a half-day session on team. And she really approaches it with your personal style preference. And she has an assessment and kind of how does that help you lead a team, lead each other, work with each other collaboratively, help each other improve team engagement as a leader. What does that look like? And Diane is one of our newer instructors, and she has her own consulting firm. She was a leader in commercial production, banking, and healthcare. She's also, what I love to share about Diane, she's also a professional entertainer, producer, and recording artist. She actually travels around the world performing, and so you can imagine she has an engaging instructional style. So that is the second session. The third session is the new one that I mentioned, Solutions-Focused Thinking. And I just love this topic. I'm really excited that we're offering this as part of the series now, because Leslie Bosserman, the instructor for this, she really has such a great perspective on what you can do when you're stuck, when you feel like you can't solve a problem, you're maybe spinning your wheels. And she really goes through this process, and she has a model for how do you solve problems and discover new solutions. And she does that through appreciative inquiry. And she also talks a little bit about coaching. And so it's a great kind of transition into then the coaching specific topic, because Leslie herself is a coach. She owns her own practice called Lead with Intention. And she really specializes in strengths-based leadership and positive psychology. And you really can sense that when you interact with Leslie. She's such a positive influence in person, and she really approaches things with that lens. So that's Leslie. And then we move on to the coaching employees with Dawn Carner. So Dawn, who we're going to turn over to in just a minute, Dawn is going to give you a little preview of her class. And to prepare for that, if you could all open your chat box. So there's a button that has the little like message, text message icon bubble, chat. If you click on the chat, because Dawn is going to use that in a minute. And if you could, in the 2 drop down, select all panelists and attendees. So we're going to use that for just an intro activity. So open your chat window, select all panelists and attendees. So everyone's going to see what you type in a couple minutes. So I'm going to turn it over to Dawn, but before I do, I just want to say she's a professional certified coach and consultant. She coaches executives of all levels. She's an incredible instructor. She's also an advisory board member for our professional coaching certificate program. She has a wide variety of certifications herself. She's been just an incredible partner with us at UC Davis Extension. So please welcome Dawn.
Hey, Jen.
Hi,
And
Dawn.
everyone.
Welcome.
How are you guys today? Thank you for being here and taking the time out of your busy day to learn about what UC Davis Extension can do for you. I'm really honored to be part of UC Davis Extension and to facilitate training and especially coaching for managers and supervisors. So really, when you think of a coach, what word would you use to describe what great coaches do? We've got a lot of excite, motivate, mentor, encourage, enable. Yeah, keep it coming. Foster, absolutely. Empower, definitely. You all have had, I can see, an experience with somebody who's a great coach, whether they're, sports or whether they're clergy or in a community setting. Support, absolutely. The thing about coaches and having a coaching mindset when you're in a leadership role has to do with lots of different skills. And one of the main skills is listening. Absolutely. Jennifer, you're right on the money. And listening is, believe it or not, a skill. And there are lots of different kinds of listening. And we go through exercises when we come together in the courses to really bring that out and tease that out. But just as a side note or a little bit of a peek into what we do, there's 4 different kinds of listening we talk about. We talk about pretend listening. And I think we've all been guilty of that at some point in another, where we've just kind of been there in body, but not in mind, not in presence. And so we get caught by people, usually people who are close to us. And that's kind of unfortunate that we happen to pretend to listen to the people who are close to us. We talk about selective listening. You're in a space now where you're at the webinar and there's background noise, there's white noise, there's stuff going on. And it's kind of just there, but you don't pay attention to it, you don't listen to it until something piques your attention. Selective listening, I think, is one of the easiest ones we do it more often than any other kind of listening, unfortunately. And that is, somebody comes in, they start talking to you, you're in the middle of working while they're talking to you, and they're talking, and all of a sudden they say a word or two, and all of it, you can always tell, because if somebody says to you, "Excuse me, could you repeat that?" They were selectively listening to you until they heard something that they went, "Oh, I better pay attention." So we use that a lot, unfortunately. But we want to get more towards these last 2 areas of listening, which is attentive listening. You're hearing and paying attention to everything that's going on. And empathic listening. And that is, again, a skill. Some people are naturally skilled at empathic listening, and other folks have to work a little harder at it. But you're paying attention to the wholeness of the communication, so the body language and the tone, and really, I know it sounds a little woo-woo, but you have intuition, you have a gut feeling about what's going on, and that's part of empathic listening. And so listening makes up a huge amount of the coaching process, followed by and in conjunction with what we call powerful questions. And as a coach, you learn about powerful questions because when you coach people, that's what you do. You are curious and you ask questions. So what makes a question powerful? Well, they're open-ended. you can't really get somebody to reflect and really think about the choice they made or what they're doing or how they might solve a problem if you're asking them yes and no questions. Did you do this? Yes. Did you do that? No. Well, that's not very helpful. But if you're open-ended, usually with a what or a how at the beginning, it changes how people respond. It starts to make people really think about how they respond. You'll notice that why is not on there. Why has a tendency to kind of steer people in the, let me make an excuse for you, let me blame somebody, that sort of thing. And so what and how questions have a tendency to really open things up and let people really, really start to reflect, if you will, on what do they really mean by that? When you have a coaching conversation with somebody about where do they want to be in their career, you want them to reflect. You want them to think. Because the premise behind coaching is that most all of us have the answers we need to have, but we haven't been able to access them. And so when you engage in listening and asking powerful questions, you create an opportunity for that person to get very still and reflective and find their answers. And it is amazing, regardless of the profession you have, the experience you have. Great listening and great questions will come up with great solutions that will be owned by the person who came up with them, and they will make them happen. And that's the value, a significant value in using coaching skills, regardless of what your title is.
Thank you so much, Dawn. We really appreciate that overview.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
We'll hear from Dawn towards the end again when she talks about the specialized skill program. Dawn said that she was honored to be a part of this, and honestly, I can say we are honored to have her as part of our programs, and she has been a true partner and friend, and I know personally I have learned a lot from her, so I was really thankful that you are here today, Dawn.
Well, you're very welcome.
And we'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Okay.
All right. So that just gives you a little teaser of some of the content in the coaching class. And, all of our instructors and classes are very interactive and engaging with lots of practical activities to ensure that these types of skills aren't just in a book put back on the shelf, but they really become a reality of how you can apply them back to your workplace. So we end the supervisory skills on May 3rd with generations at work. And as many of you know, this is a really kind of hot topic now with so many generations in the workplace right now. We are in a little bit of a unique time in that sense, where we have various generations in leadership, various generations working together. And so Jeannie Hagan-Green is one of our longtime UC Davis instructors, and she's been with us many, many years. And she teaches, wraps it up with this class. She does some great activities around this and how, bringing situations and how do you interact with the different generations and what is important to some and others and why. And how can you take a different approach through your communication. She teaches a communication class in our series 1. And so she really integrates, it's not just a class on learning about the generations, but how do you communicate more effectively? How do you respect and learn? And Jeannie is the founder and principal of HG Training Group, and she teaches a wide variety of classes with us. She has corporate clients as well as government agencies, nonprofit, and she was the recipient of our Outstanding Instructor Award at UC Davis Extension. So she has just been a long-time great partner to us. So what does it cost? What does it look like? Here is the details. So as we mentioned, the format, the session 2, series 2 starts April 5th. It's 5 consecutive half days. You can select the morning or the afternoon based on your schedule preference. We went over the topics. If you were to take an individual class, it would cost you $295. If you enroll in the whole program, the whole series, it's $1,325, which saves you $150. And if you're within an organization and you can find 2 more colleagues that would join you, we offer a 10% discount for groups of 3 or more. So that's our best discount. And you can see we have a preview for the fall. Those will be available shortly for registration, but those, just a preview, will be September, beginning the mid of September. And the topics we offer in the series 1 are principles of supervision and management, building a motivated workplace, delegating for results, working through conflict, and communication skills at work. And Dawn also teaches in our fall series as well, the delegation class. So with that, what questions do we have for supervisory skills?
So one of our first questions that came in was, do you need to take session 1 before session 2?
That is such an excellent question. No, absolutely not. You can take session 2 first. We have a lot of people that do that. So they are either or. So that is a great question. Are there any other questions?
Yes. Does the program cost include both sessions?
So the program cost that we reviewed, the $1,325, is just per session. So the $1,325 is for either the spring 5-day topics or the fall. The fall would also be $1,325. So if you were to take both, it would be $2,650. Great question.
We have another question. Do we receive academic credit for taking these classes?
That's another great question. No, we do not receive academic credit for these courses. These are non-credit leadership classes.
Okay, another question. If I enrolled in the morning series, could I take an afternoon class if I was not able to attend the morning?
So the way we have the series scheduled and scheduled and available for enrollment is that when you enroll, you would enroll for the morning series. So we would assume that you would attend all the morning sessions. However, we can make an exception for one class if you needed to take one class. If you had to flex all of them at different times, we would say you would need to register for those individually. But if it's just one exception, then we can do that. We tend to plan our enrollments and our materials and everything and catering based on the series. So we would ask that ideally you stick with one session. All right, I think those are all our questions for now. Thank you for engaging and asking such great questions. And we'll have time again at the end for more if things come up as you are processing all the information. So with that, let's transition into our management development program, Effective Management Practices. So unlike the Supervisory Skills series, this program is a cohort-based program that must be enrolled in as an entire program. So like the supervisory skills, I said you could take individual topics. In this program, you are not able to take these as individual classes. You must enroll in them as an entire cohort-based program. It builds on itself. Each class builds upon each other. It allows you the opportunity to get to know class members, grow your personal and professional network. So this one is a little different than the supervisory in that sense. You can see the dates below. It's May 9th through 23rd, so 3 consecutive weeks. And let's dig into each of the classes. We start with the manager's role on May 9th. And this is taught by Chris Plackey. Chris Plackey is an executive coach and published author. She really focuses on working with difficult people. It's kind of one of her slants, and she really has a different perspective on that. And what is it about difficult? Why do we call people difficult? Are we difficult? She's kind of a self-proclaimed difficult person herself, so she has a really great perspective. So she incorporates some of that into this class, but really she focuses on accountability and feedback. And she does that through key performance indicators and working with your organization and your team to set those up, and then understanding your role as a coach. And so that is the first class of the management development class. And then we go into the second class, communicating for results, which includes the DISC assessment. And I'm going to walk through the DISC assessment in a little bit more detail so you understand, give you a preview of the content in this class. Kim was unable to be with us, so I'm going to give you a preview for this class. But the communicating for results, so you take the DISC assessment and then you really learn your own kind of personality style, communication style. And so then you learn tools and techniques for how you can be more effective in your role as a leader. And then Kim does such an excellent job in this class of having a lot of practice around feedback. And she gives you a model. And when I read the evaluations from her class, almost everybody comments on how much they love the model that she teaches. So I'm not going to share that with you because you'll have to come to class to find out. But she has this great model for giving feedback and how to do that when it's great performance and how to do it when it's maybe not so great performance. And then she talks about, she's in HR, she owns her own HR consulting firm. And so she really focuses as well on how do you mitigate risk with addressing poor performers. So she gives you some tools for that. So let's talk about the DISC. What is the DISC? And as I'm talking about this, I want you to think carefully about what category you think you would fall into. And then we'll have a little poll at the end. So the way the DISC assessment works, so there's a D, which stands for dominance. We're going to go through each of these. And then I, S, and C. And on the left-hand side, the D and the C, that area is really the task-oriented side of things. And then the I and the S side is the people-oriented. So you're more focused on people. And you can kind of see those with the words there. And then it also measures kind of outgoing and reserved. So the D and the I are more on the outgoing end of things, and the C and the S are more reserved. So there's people-oriented reserved, there's outgoing people-oriented, if that makes sense. And we'll kind of walk through each of those now and what that looks like. So D, dominance. This person really places emphasis on results, get it done. These people get things done. So you can see some of the behaviors there. I won't read all of those, but this is the more outgoing, task-oriented. So they're really focused on getting things done and they make it happen, and they're kind of a strong personality. So they're really, talking, get it done, let's do it. So that's a D. And I is the outgoing, people-oriented person. So they really are placing their emphasis on influencing, persuading others. They love to interact, socialize, have fun. You can see some of their behaviors, what that person might be like. So that's the I. Then we get to the S, and this is the steadiness. And this is the reserved, people-oriented. So they are not as outgoing as the I. They are placing emphasis on cooperation, sincerity, dependability. They're a little bit more calm, humility. They enjoy relationships, helping people, working together to get things done. So that's an S. And then you've got your C, and these are your more reserved, task-oriented people. So these people place emphasis on quality, accuracy, expertise. They're really the ones that are consistency, quality. They focus on being accurate and correct with everything they do. So you can see some of their behaviors now. So let me kind of give you an example of like what this might look like on the webinar today. And maybe this will help you even determine further what type of personality you are. Okay, so let's look at this. If you're a D and you're on this webinar, you're sitting here saying, give me the facts. Tell me how much it costs. What's the time? I got a meeting after this, so I hope this ends on time. So if you're a D, that's what's going through your head right now. And you're probably impatient. You might even be multitasking right now. I won't hold it against you. You might not even be really listening to me. That's okay. You just want the facts. So that's you, the D. If you're the I sitting on this webinar, you're wanting to know how much interaction you're going to have with other people and organizations, and you really wish this information session would have been in person. And honestly, you may not even be on here today. There may not be any people that are I's because you're really focused on interacting with people. And so you're signing up for the in-person sessions. You want to know, how am I going to interact with people in the classes? Are there activities and networking and all of those things? If you're an S and you're on this webinar, you're wanting to know how much you're going to learn and how it will impact your life. And you loved the chat activity because it was reserved, but you got to interact with people. You didn't have to really talk or speak up, but you got to make that connection. And you're really interested in knowing, you know, what are you going to learn and how is that going to help you interact with other people, not just at work, but in your life. And then finally, if you're a C and you're on this webinar, you really want to know the information of the quality of the program. And you may have noticed a typo on the presentation already, and you hope that that's not representative of the quality. I really don't think there's a typo because I tend to be partly C. I'm not going to lie. I tend to be an S strongly and then a C. So I'm hoping you didn't find a typo, but you're the one that would. If there was a typo, you would see it, and you are really interested in the quality of the program because you want to raise the quality of your work. So based on those kind of fun descriptions of the webinar and just a brief overview, what style do you think you are? And Bridget's going to launch this for us. And we'll show you the results in a few minutes. Oh, they're coming in. We've got a few of you. So far, we're pretty spread. I'm going to give it about 10 more seconds. Still waiting for quite a few of you. All right. So it looks like we are have quite a few more with the C. So if you did see an error, feel free to email Bridget or I on any of the typos for future presentations. There are a couple I's and a couple D's and a few S's, so that's great. Like I said, you go through a much more in-depth assessment to really determine your style. So that's just a brief overview. So the final class in the management development program is the manager as team leader. And you probably maybe remember Diane's face from before. And she teaches in the supervisory skills as well in a team class, and that's a half day. This one is a much more in-depth on building trust for effective relationships, identifying differences in people and leveraging strengths. How do you align your team? She has a model to guide through approach of leading meetings, leading teams, giving feedback. How can you achieve the best outcomes? So this is an in-depth look at how you can be an effective leader as a manager. So the nitty gritty for the management development program for all you Ds on the call. So it's a 3-day program. As I mentioned, it's a cohort based, so you have to register in the whole program. It includes morning refreshments and lunch. This one includes lunch, which offers you the opportunity to grow your network and get to know some people. And the cost for the program is $19.50. And again, groups of 3 or more. So if you have 2 colleagues that are not on the call with you, they can receive a 10% group discount. And that is really our best discount. So we're going to enter into our last poll. After you have learned more about the supervisory skills and the management development program, which do you think would be a best fit for you? Could be supervisory series, could be the individual classes, could be the management development program. Maybe you're not sure, or maybe it's nothing that we've talked about so far, and that's okay. Votes are still coming in, so we're going to give it a little bit as those come in. Thank you for hanging in with us this session. Okay. So it looks like supervisory skills, either an individual class or the series, it looks like quite a few looking at that, and then some management development. And then for those of you who are unsure, we do have some time at the end for questions. And then also Bridget will be emailing some things out at the end of the webinar, probably early next week. And either she or I am always happy to answer any specific questions to help you decide if there's a program that's a better fit. We're happy to have those conversations with you. So with that, before we enter into questions, and I was kind of expecting that somebody might say neither, and so nobody said neither, but not everybody voted. So if you said neither, I was going to let you know that now we have these specialized skills programs. And so we just launched these recently, and we're going to be doing a series of these. And this one is coming in August, Leading Through Emotional Intelligence and Coaching. And like the Management Development Program, this is a cohort-based class. So you have to register for the whole 3 weeks, and it's spaced a week apart, and it's taught by Dawn Carner. And so Dawn is going to talk a minute here about a little more about what's included in that. So Dawn?
Hey, I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back. So this is a very fun and highly engaged 3 consecutive weeks. You have 1 day with me and the cohort, and it's really digging a little deep and learning about your personal emotional intelligence. Where do you stand? Where do you have gifts? Where do you have opportunities? And how that impacts you in your work, but overall it impacts you in your life. And how does that work for you? And along with that, taking how you respond and how you are in the world and applying that to the coaching skills, again, listening and asking questions, but a much broader, deeper dive with all of the types of competencies and skill sets you might need. And it's very practical because each week there's a set of content that you learn, but then we ask you to take that content with you out into the world and do something with it. Try something, pay attention to something, do an activity, homework, if you will, but it's not like homework in school. I'm not asking you to turn it in, but it's a way to take the content and immediately apply it to whatever it is in your life that you need or like to apply it to, and see what works and what doesn't. And then talk with your cohort members about what works and what didn't work and what might you do differently. And so it's very, very experiential, more so than all my classes are experiential, but this I think is more so because it really is a workshop base versus a class where I'm going to go learn a technique or this or that. It's my goal is to have you pull from everything that I bring to you, the things that work for you, and modify them and adapt them to what you need and what will work best for you. And I think that's the most I can tell you about it without, diving in and getting, too much in the weeds.
I know you want to dive in though, Dawn. I know you do. You love it. She's so passionate about it.
It's what I do.
That was perfect. Thank you. And I would just say, I actually took the class as a learner last year, which I don't always get the opportunity to do. And I have to admit, I'm the Associate Director of Management and Leadership Programs, and I thought, well, I'll just take this and I'll probably get a few good nuggets out of it, but I'm already pretty good at emotional intelligence and coaching. Yes, my ego got in the way. And I will say I learned a ton. I learned a ton of how I could be a better leader with my team and really instill better critical thinking skills in them through the coaching process, as opposed to just telling people what to do. And really yeah, it was just, and like Dawn said, it was really workshop based. And so there was just a lot of practical activities that I was able to apply right away with my team. So thank you, Dawn. We are excited about it.
You're very welcome again.
All right, so that class will be available soon, early next week, probably when Bridget sends out the email summary of things afterwards. You'll be able to receive information on that. It should be available for registration. We already have it scheduled, as you can see with the dates. So we're excited about this class, and then we're going to be offering more specialized skills throughout the year. As we grow and really find that there's certain skills that people want a deeper dive into. And this is one that we found was a priority for people. So with that, we've come to our kind of final time for questions. I think that some of them have come in that I know Bridget has been tracking. So what do we got, Bridget?
Okay, so we have one question. How much overlap is there between the two? And does it make sense to take both, or is one or the other better?
Okay. Yes. So the supervisory skills and the management development program do not overlap. They build upon one another in a sense. So the supervisory skills are really geared to people who are either newer in supervision or haven't had formal training. So sometimes you may have been in supervision for, 5+ years, but you've never learned any of these skills. You were just kind of promoted a lot. This happens a lot. You're promoted into the position because you're great at your technical skills, and yet you have never learned any of those kind of people leadership skills. So that's really what the supervisory series is for. And then again, maybe if there's an individual topic that you're really interested in, like the coaching class or generations. Then there is the management development, which takes a deeper look. So this is really meant for people who lead larger teams of people or have more years of experience managing people, or even lead managers of, a manager of managers. And so that program is a little more advanced than the supervisory skills. And so while some of the topics are similar, like you saw Diane Davidson, the team class, it's two different classes, very different classes, very different audience. So it makes sense to take both in the sense that at some point, like our goal is to kind of funnel people through, like in your career, we meet your needs where you're at in your career. I would say it probably does not make sense to take like supervisory skills series 2 in April and then go right away into management development program. So I would think you would want to space that with some time.
Our next question, how often are the supervisory skills classes offered?
So they are offered in the spring and fall every year. So we offer the classes that we just went over for the spring are offered every spring. And we just launched, as I mentioned, the morning and afternoon options. And then the fall classes that I gave you just a brief preview of, those are offered every fall. So essentially twice a year with different topics. There's 10 total different topics.
Okay, is there any other discount besides the 10%?
There is the $100 off coupon that you will get for attending the information session. But the 10% discount is really the best discount we have available. I think those are all our questions, unless anybody else wants to put anything into the Q&A box. We'll make sure we'll watch that. But we are going to be posting something in the chat now for you to take an evaluation. So what Bridget's gonna, in just a second here, she's getting the link for the evaluation. And when you complete this evaluation, we will be able to send you the coupon for the discount, the $100 coupon. So I think, hold one moment. All right, we're getting there. Thank you for your patience. So Bridget is posting that into the chat box, and that way it should come to all of you. And in the meantime, if there's any other questions, please go ahead and answer those. All right, we got it. Thank you for your patience with us. So you should, in the chat box, have a link directly to take the evaluation on this information session. So please click on that, take the evaluation, and early next week we'll be sending you the $100 coupon and as well as some other information. So we are going to hang on a couple minutes just to make sure that there aren't any other questions. And we're just going to hang for a little bit. If not, we're done. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And we hope to see you in class.
Thank you.